Sometimes the most painful experiences, those things that hurt us so much and so deeply, many times, are the experiences that teach us huge, amazing lessons about life and about ourselves. One of those experiences is heartbreak. Why does it hurt so much? Well, there are many different reasons. The first reason that I recognize is a heartbreak is especially when you have been with someone for some time, for years, and you have a lot of memories together, you created special moments, you had adventures, experiences, you have plans and dreams, and you projected like a lot of activities, for the coming years. So you started to create a story in your mind about how your life would look like. And if you have been in love and happy, and you have its perfect companion, your perfect partner, of course, this is wonderful. And you believe that that is going to last, or at least we hope that that is going to last. But then something happened, and this is especially when in the situation when the other person, when our partner decided to end the relationship, when the other person maybe found somebody else and fell in love with another person, or something like that, when we are the ones being left or abandoned or rejected. Is that how we feel? It doesn't mean that we were abandoned. It doesn't mean that we were rejected. It's the story that we tell ourselves that is going to cause the most pain. It's the story. It's not only the reality, it's what we interpret about that experience. But of course, we are human beings with a story, with a past, with parents, family, and many of us, we grew up in dysfunctional families or with parents that they were wounded and they didn't know exactly what to do for us. They did the best they could, but it doesn't mean that was good for us. So, yeah, we can consider that too. So, that story that we create in our mind could be one of the reasons that this is so painful. The other thing is the story we create about ourselves, about who we are. Is someone I loved and someone who seemed to love me so much, for some time, one day change his mind, probably it's because I did something wrong. Maybe I am not lovable enough. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe there's something wrong with me. So I can self-blame myself. And because my self-esteem and my self-worth is so low, not because it's my fault, it's because it is. And when we go through a heartbreak, if we observe ourselves, if we observe the story we are creating in our mind, if we observe our emotions, our feelings, from an observation point of view, not as living the emotion, but observing if we were like another person, taking a look about ourselves, how we look like. When we are able to do that, we're going to discover so much about ourselves that it will be an opportunity to get to know our parts that are hidden in the subconscious mind. We're going to take a look at our wounds, the way we are wounded and hurt, because of childhood trauma. And the good news is that those stories can be changed, because it's all about the story. I'm going to give you an example. If we grew up in an environment where our parents were not totally present. When we were, told that we need to be good in school, we need to have good grades, we need to behave like, very quiet kids. And, there's a saying that my mother used to say, that kids don't need to be seen or heard. So they need to be so good behaved and so quiet that no one will notice there's kids in the house. Imagine that. So let's put that as an example. If you were told since you were little that you had to be quiet, you had to be pretty much invisible, no one needs to see you, you are going to learn to be that way in order to be loved and accepted. For you to belong to the family or your immediate group of people, and there are certain behaviors that are accepted and other behaviors are not accepted, when you are very young, you're going to try to do what works for you to feel loved and accepted. And then you're going to grow up and you're going to repeat that over and over and over again. So that is how a repeated pattern in relationship starts. It starts in childhood. And we never challenge that when we are adults. That is amazing because we don't challenge that. We just take it as a fact, that is a reality, and that's it. We don't question that anymore. Let's imagine for a moment that same example, that you grew up in a family then when you have to be very quiet, so you don't express what you need, you don't express your dislikes, you don't ask for what you want, because any of those things may cause some issues in the family and create some tension, and you're going to feel like something is wrong with you. So to avoid that discomfort, you are going to behave as your parents, as you believe your parents want you to behave, because sometimes it's not even what they told us, it's what we believe they want, right? That is the first story we create in our mind, what our parents want from us. And then you're going to start, creating these behaviors and these ideas about how to be lovable, how to be acceptable. And sometimes you do a lot. You make a huge effort. You please your parents so much that you end up not knowing what you really want. How many times that happened? And it also happened later on in relationships. We are going to have the tendency to choose people that remind us the way we felt as kids with our parents. Take a look at your life. Take a look at your ex-partner, ex-boyfriends or girlfriends. Do you see the similarity with one of your parents, with mom, with dad, with someone very close to you? You're going to be surprised when you make the connections. Yeah. Another part of that is if we learn that the fact that someone decided to, step away from the relationship, many times it's not because it's lack of love. Someone may love us, but decide and figure out that we are not a good match. Maybe we're not compatible because someone is not having a good time. We are always learning, and relationships are amazing assignments for things to learn. So anyway, consider that maybe you were left by your partner, and then there's a lot of broken dreams, broken plans. It's not just that. The life suddenly changed completely. And we need to figure that out very quickly, right? Yeah, so it's not a punishment. One thing that we need to really, really consider every time we go through that experience, that a heartbreak is not a punishment. It's not because we did something wrong, unless we did something terrible, right? Yeah, I'm talking about like normal, natural circumstances in general. The other, when we let go, the idea that we need to do more to get that love back, that we need to work harder, talking about chasing the ex. Chasing is not a good idea. It's not only because it's going to make the other person run away even further, not even for that. It's because it's not good for us, because we're going to be rejected and rejected and rejected and rejected many times. So we are exposing ourselves to more pain. So one thing that we always need to keep in mind when we are dealing with heartbreak, with the pain and the hurt and all that, we have to always remind ourselves that the most important person in this equation is us. And anything that we do that doesn't make us feel good, we shouldn't do it. If we want to make that phone call, if we want to send that text complaining, like a begging, or in a very very angry way, in the end, it's going to be bad for us, because the other person is going to have a reaction, and it's going to be a reaction of self-protection, and we're going to feel rejected, misunderstood, abandoned, unloved. Then we are creating those circumstances. See, that's why it's so important to work very deeply, go very deep into ourselves when we are dealing with heartbreak. It's not only dealing with the first, days, weeks where we are so raw in our feelings, but even if your heartbreak was many years ago, you may still have some, consequences of that if you didn't work this. If you're still blaming your ex, that is a sign that this is not really resolved. And the reason why it's important to work on these issues is because we are going to have the same experience or a similar experience with somebody else in the future. Until we learn the lesson, the experience is not going to change. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly, because probably you had a couple of those experiences, one after the other one, and you are like not understanding, why am I attracting this thing? Well, because the lesson hasn't been learned. So guys, if you want to know more, check the link below in the description and leave a comment. Tell me what you think about this. And please subscribe to my channel so you won't miss anything else in the coming videos. And yeah, so check that link below. There's a free ebook for you to deal with heartbreak the first days. And then just connect with that. Do the work. It's very important. Namaste.